Welcome back to the Trout WranglerPodcast. I am your host, Ryan Garrity. It is currently 7:05 on Friday, February 21st. We got a guest this evening. I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit, James.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time, Ryan. My name is James Garrettson. I'm the owner and operator of About Trout, and we are a guide service primarily operating on the San Juan River in San Juan County, New Mexico. Crazy. And if you like trout, we're about those. So if you've never been to the San Juan, we'd love to show you a good time and kind of show you more than, kind of some of the, let's say, the not so great press this river sometimes gets.
Oh yeah, but we're gonna get into it. I actually got connected with you. He said he might not even remember me, but his name was Ian McCreary. He said that he
Yeah.
called out somebody about copyright infringement on your logo. And he was like, he's probably doesn't even remember me, but he's a super nice guy. But that's how we got connected. We'll get into the podcast quick. Just a little bit. What got you into fly fishing and made you want to start your own guiding business?
Yeah, so I used to want to be a rapper and like that just was never going to work. So I thought, why don't I just try this fly fishing thing? But in all seriousness, I just loved fishing from a young age. I didn't, my dad is from Long Island and my mother is from Chicago, from the city proper, McKinley Park. And, when we go see my grandparents, we fish for like striped bass and stuff in the Long Island Sound. But no one in my family really fly fished. My mom's family or my mom's parents are immigrants. So my grandma's from Mexico on that side of the family, and my grandpa immigrated here from Jordan. So the Dead Sea isn't really known as like a hot spot for angling. But I had a neighbor when I grew up in Northern Virginia, Richard Altman. He was from Pennsylvania, and he just saw that I liked fishing and had mentioned, hey, you should try fly fishing. And I got a fly rod for that Christmas and a copy of the LL Bean Fly Fishing Handbook by Dave Whitlock. And I must have read that thing 7 million times. And I also had a copy of the Curtis Creek Manifesto. And I was in walking distance from a small creek, difficult run, if anyone's from the Northern Virginia area. And just go down there and fly fish for panfish. And then at 14, I walked into an Orvis, and rest in peace, but the manager there, Dan Ovington, was like, hey, you should work here. And so I couldn't even drive. And my mom would drop me off at Orvis, Tyson's Corner, Virginia, store number 55. And then I got jobs at like LL Bean and, in the DC area as well. They just closed their branch there, and worked at the Missoulian Angler when I went to college in Montana. I worked at various fly shops. More recently, I worked in Seattle when I lived there for a little bit for Avid Angler with Ryan Smith, who was awesome. And
Oh
always
yeah.
been in close proximity to guiding, but really had a lot of mentors growing up, fished all through college. And yeah, I don't mean to ramble, but
Nah, dude, you're good. Talk as long as you want, dude. I think every kid that grew up in like the Northeast has a copy of that LL Bean fly fishing handbook. But that's funny you said Tyson's Corner. I actually have a couple friends that grew up around Tyson's Corner.
Oh, small world. Yeah, you're not going to be a fishing guide in Northern Virginia. There is one, you can do, there's some shad stuff. Maryland's close by. There's Mike tightlining Maryland's guiding on the gunpowder. I mean, that's one big difference from the East Coast coming to the West is, if I drive 3 hours from DC, I'm in New York City. If I drive 3 hours, I'm still in New Mexico, so the states
Right.
are a lot closer together.
Oh yeah. But we got a pretty stacked show today, and our the first thing I gotta ask is not that's actually the second thing. Sorry about that. But
All
your
good.
fly fishing guide in Southern Colorado and on the Juan. But on a daily basis, how much pressure do the waters that you guide on receive?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, the San Juan is absolutely the core of our business. Like all of our guides are the core of our guide team. We all live in New Mexico. Three of us live within half an hour of the river. I mean, two of us live 10 minutes away. I could actually walk to the river from where I'm at right now. But the San Juan does get a lot of pressure. It's a really famous, tailwater. It's very easily accessible. I mean, it was 50 degrees today. It's February. We had three boats out today working. So not only is the wade fishing really accessible and easy, a lot of public land, it's a very gentle river. It gets loved, and so we are able to kind of mitigate that by being more creative, with our start times, how we plan our trips, kind of putting in earlier, putting in later, and you can still find solitude every day on that river, if you want to find that, you just gotta think outside the box. With our Southern Colorado stuff, we guide some high elevation creeks. We About Trout, our outfitter, or my outfitter, holds some permits outside of Silverton, and so we got some little stash creeks in there that we guide, and then a lot of private water in the Southern Colorado stuff. So you just book that, you got the whole thing to yourself. But the Juan is definitely well known and popular.
Oh yeah, I think when I was doing research on it, it seems like there are parts that get beat to death, and I think one of them will bring up later here in a second. But everything I saw about it, beautiful. I'm gonna have to make a trip out there soon.
Yeah, come see us. I mean, like today, I would say if you're looking for solitude, like one of my favorite times to guide is the winter. January is going to be the coldest, the harshest, but we have hand warmers on the boat. We have coffee presses to kind of get you through that. And, we started at 7 a.m. today, and one of our other guys started at 7:30. We were the first three boats on the water. So, we had it all to ourselves until about 8:30.
Dude, that's awesome. But let's talk about stream etiquette. With fly fishing, dude, fly fishing's growing so big, and I think you've probably seen it as well. Um, what are the three most important things that you would tell a new new angler of what they should just know, like those unwritten rule kind of things, what they should know about etiquette on the river from like a guide standpoint, or even just fishing in general?
Yeah, I would say from an etiquette standpoint, observation, communication, and then participation. And so, like, what I mean by that is, kind of assessing the situation, with your eyes first, and then communicating your intent. If there's another angler there before you, one big thing when we see wade anglers that we do here is I make sure to tell them like, hey, I'm going to be out of your way. If I could go any other way, I would, slide a boat behind them so I'm not running over the fish that they're fishing to. Just that constant communication. And then in terms of the participation, we're all in this together as anglers. We're all out there trying to do and enjoy the same thing. And I think, most trout anglers are fishing upstream, especially on the smaller rivers and creeks on the East Coast or the West. The boat guys are fishing downriver, so there can, sometimes it can create interesting, scenarios. But I think, as myself, as a guide, the responsibility falls on me that, look, this river was not created for me to have a job, and I always am going to default to those private anglers as a fishing guide. I'm a big boy. I guide public land. I can find fish. That's what I'm here to do. And I think as the West and the East get busier, you just got to keep in mind, we all want space out there. The more popular and the more busy some of these waters are, like in your, like South Holston, some of these famous tailwaters, people tend to fish a little closer together. And that's where that kind of observation comes in. When I grew up in Virginia, if I was hiking up the mount or hiking up the trail, and you can wade in that creek and shut those fish down for an hour. So, talk to somebody, say, hey, look, I'm going to give you a mile, or I'm going to set my watch. I'm going to walk for an hour above you, and not touch that water, and just opening up that dialogue and trying to be a team player, I think is probably the most important thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That like you hit the nail on the head right there. I think that observation, I feel like that's a thing that's missed out a lot. Is like the observing kind of thing, where it's like it's I guess not as much for a newer angler, but it's pretty easy to spot a guide, and it's like you don't. I like me personally. I don't want to jump right down into the creek right next to them and be like, "Hey man, you mind if I fish here?" I'll go down there and be like, hey, open up that communication window and then maybe work together if one of us starts catching fish. I think that's one thing too, is where some guys get intimidated by that. It's like, no, dude, they're people just like us. They'll talk to you, you'll talk to them, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, we're all out there for the same thing. And everything you just said was just nailed it. But this is
I
probably
appreciate that, man.
something that a lot of guys, especially guides, might fall victim to. This next question is: do you ever fall victim to spot burning, or like where people notice your guys' trucks or boats and set right next to you or something like that?
Yeah, it happens. I mean, I take it as a compliment
Right,
sometimes. I think, what's unique with the San Juan River is that no matter what, like someone's gonna see you. Like I might think I have this stash little bucket or this riffle drop or like a seam or I'm slide. Someone saw you, and likewise, I watch other guides as well. Like but with the one, there's so many fish on the San Juan, like it doesn't matter. Where that type of stuff impacts. Um, Fishing guides are just fishing as you take somebody to a more remote spot and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So if you don't want people in there, then don't guide it. And it's public land, so like
right,
it's for all of us. So I mean, I think that falls on the guide in terms of if they're guiding something really special that they found or that they know about, maybe protect that, or only fish it for you or don't profiteer off of it. It's same thing as I've taken my buddies over the years, or buddies have taken me into spots, and then that they exist. So
right.
that's kind of the burden on that. I think it's some rivers and some spots can handle way more pressure than other spots. But I don't get like, I'm not possessive, at all. If I have
Right.
something that I really like that I've stumbled into, I'm just going to stash that one for me. And if someone else finds it, well, it's public. So, you're smart.
Exactly. It's like you can find it. You can find it on Onyx too, like all those apps, like On Water. Everything you can find, and it'll tell you if it's like private water and stuff like that. We had an instance on a Facebook page, dude, earlier. Dude. You know how people love to get all like wired up and crash out on a Facebook page. There was a guy on the French Broad, and he worked up at an outfitter, and I'm not going to name the outfitter,
That's
but
good. That's good.
he he works for them, and he was guiding, and this dude is essentially crashing out because he told them this is our private water section, and they called the game warden, made a huge thing out of it, like literally had like a whole topic about it at a meeting on this one stretch of river. And it was the dude who wasn't the guide was the one that was causing a huge stink about it. And it's like at that point, man, it's like it's public water, and there is miles and miles and miles of more river, man. And he still goes back to it all the time on the Facebook page, and it's it's one of those things. I'm like, dude, it's a river. It's all public. Communicate with the guide, figure something out, and it's just getting blown out of proportion to where they're doing things on like meetings with wildlife now, and it's crazy. But um, it's crazy how it's getting to that now. Crazy,
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Virginia, and there was the
right?
whole Jackson River thing with Kings Grant, and people were getting kicked off of public property with licenses, and I mean, as much as we'd all like to have our little like secret like Shangri-Las, like for a lot of
Right,
people aren't going to use their legs to walk to these places, but to protect them is important because if a river you're kind of walking that knife's edge. But at the end of the day, if a river doesn't have friends, then the land gets stripped out or it's bought or a land swap happens, and then none of us can fish it. So,
right,
it is the nature of the beast. The population's growing, fly fishing is getting more popular. You're going to see people. If you don't want to see people, that's on you, and
right.
don't fit like go fish somewhere else.
Exactly. And it's one of those things too where it's like, especially if it's on like a delayed harvest stream or something like that where it's stocked, you're gonna see other people. And this happened to be a delayed harvest stream. I'm like, dude, if you don't want to see people, go and find a wild water stream and hike miles into the woods. And it's like if you want to get away from people, like it's very attainable. And but
Yes.
it's one of those things. I think like you were saying about kind of keeping stuff hush hush. It's like I could see people keeping stuff hush hush if it was like a super nice like wild water stream and stuff like that. But if it's delayed harvest, dude, everybody knows where those are. It's public knowledge. It's on wildlife like website, and it's like I have a couple buddies that are like, man, I'm not telling you where I'm fishing. I'm like, dude, I don't care to know where you're fishing. I know it's a delayed harvest stream. It's like you're sitting there with a spinning rod in your hand and throwing a treble hook. And he ended up telling me, I was like, I could tell because of the background. But it's like, it's one of
Right.
those things. People like gatekeeping's a huge thing now. It's like, dude, people will gatekeep anything these days. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's like people gatekeeping where they're getting their chicken wings out here these days.
Or the breakfast sandwiches. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly. It's like I'm not going to tell you where I'm getting these wings. It's like, all right, dude, cool. It's like I got a place right across the street where it's got good wings. But do you get to fish Texas hole a bunch?
well, yeah, so that's like the first put in, So the first, from the dam to Texas, to the top of Texas Hole, it's weight only. Texas Holes were the highest boat ramp, and so the quality waters float is Texas Hole to what they call Crusher Hole. So that's what I was doing. That's what we were all doing before I hopped on here. Was doing the good old QW, good old quality waters, and yeah, Texas is a freaking circus. I mean, yes and no. So like this morning we had, it was us and a couple other guides popped in, our buddies, we do a good job as guides of getting along. I mean, we have to,
Right.
it's like kind of in Africa, like when the water gets low and the zebras and the giraffes and, everyone's got to drink from the same watering hole. Like
Right.
none of us are going away, and the guys that were out today, like our outfitter and them are very close. We do a lot of stuff together. They're friends. And there were some other guides in the mix and we did what we did. And I went back up in the afternoon. I actually ran through the river a little quicker, trailered my boat, dropped it back in, and yeah, it was a zoo. There was a dude like shooting a jig off like a wheelchair pier, and like he clearly wasn't in one. Yeah, and you know what it is? It's just the Walmart effect, or it's like it's the closest fishing to the parking lot, and like to their conversation, like I knew what I was getting into, and we had a great day today. Um, but we had kind of worked our way pretty quick through the river. We were throwing streamers and just wanted to get a couple more shots, some fish on nymphs and some streamers before we ended the day. But yeah, Texas Hold's that is what causes 90% of the San Juan's negative reputation. And you just gotta, you can stagger your launch times, you can put in earlier, you can avoid a lot of the craziness that can happen up there. But yeah, if you're in there middle of the afternoon on a beautiful day, like you're gonna see people and
Right.
it's different,
It's one of
if
those
you're not
things
used to it.
too. It's like you're saying, people don't want to use their legs and walk to the place where they don't want to see people. People don't want to wake up early in the morning before like 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, stuff like that to fish anymore. Well, dude, that's the best
Right.
time to do it. But
Yeah, I'm with you. And yeah, Texas Hole, I mean, it gets crazy because that's where all the boats have to drop, right? So you have between
right,
the boat traffic and the wade traffic, but like plenty of days, man, I'll drop a boat in the Texas Hole, hit the oars, I'm out of there, and then it's like I don't see anybody until, later in the day when more of the waders kind of, work their way through the river and I think that's great. Those are the guys that are and the girls that are really getting after it. I love to see it. Again, the river's for everybody, but it's not if you want to partake in that, that's on you. You don't have to do that. There's a lot of creative ways. I think like one thing I learned when I used to fish in Washington was like the difference between like fly anglers and bait guys. And like I would rather fish around bait anglers because they're gonna like stay there. It's the fly guys and girls that are up and down and this and that, or like putting in behind all the guide boats. And then all of a sudden, like there's nobody there, right? Or just adjusting
right.
your launch times, getting a little more creative with your floats and there's more than just the quality water float in the San Juan. There's a middle section, a lower section, water dependent. So you can get creative. It's just it's again, it falls on you.
Right. Do you guys think you guys have more wade anglers or boat anglers on the San Juan?
Definitely more weight anglers.
Wade anglers. I was gonna say, it's like
Most of the boat owners, but
it's like the French Broad here. You got a lot of guys that like wade the other forks of the French Broad, but you got like a good majority of guys like around here that have drift boats that are steady on the French Broad. It's kind of cool too. They catch muskie on the French Broad River here. Look, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Oh, I didn't mean that. I was just saying, yeah, most of the boat owners on the river are guides. In terms
Right.
of private boats, there's just not, they're there, but usually weekend thing, most most times, and all the guide boats should be logoed. It's like pretty obvious, but
Yeah.
most of it, the wade section above Texas Hole, waders in Texas Hole, all the way through our bait water. There's people enjoying and fishing the resource, which is super cool.
Yeah, as I say, that's good to see. That's good to see though. At the same time, and it's like we were saying about having all the pandemonium in Texas Hole. That's got to be fun though, where it's like you got a bunch of different guys and drift boats and wading around catching fish all at the same time. It's like I'm sure it can get hectic, but it's pretty fun to do probably as well.
It's nuts. It's like Disney World. Like you can overhear like boat conversations. It's like, Disney. You go for the rides, you stay for the people watching. It's like the same with
Exactly.
Texas. So like come for the fishing, stay for the wild sidebar conversations. And it's just, yeah, and that, I mean, because we have so many fish on the San Juan, it's really great for like we get a lot of groups, right? So in other rivers you have to really spread out. Like on the San Juan, you don't. Like you can fish with an eye shot or smack talking distance of your buddies all day, and like so for friend groups, family groups, they love that stuff. So it's fun to be in the mix with that.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. It's like playing golf with your friends, sitting there chirping them all and
Yep.
all that stuff. That's awesome. But see, that's one of those things that's like not enough of my friends fly fish, but like I got like two or three guys that I fish with, and it's like I wish more people did because it's like get a group of guys to go like camp or something, and at the New River or something like that in Virginia, and just sit there talk smack and drink a few beers with your boys, fish all day. That's just stuff that that's kind of what fly fishing's built on, in my opinion. I love that
It's
stuff.
supposed to be fun, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like I know a few people that will get up there and it's like I see it a lot with people like a lot of the YouTube guys where it's like a whole video is on it's like depends on catching fish. And it's like if you're not catching fish at like 1 in the afternoon, that's people start to get antsy. I'm like, dude, just enjoy your day, fish, talk a little smack, calm down, and then you'll start catching fish. But
Oh
um,
yeah, man.
it's cool though. But
Yeah, I
yes,
think like guide James and like day off James are like two totally different people. Like when I fish for me, it's like I just kind of throw stuff at the wall. I see what sticks. I kind of like tinker with things because I'm not going to use my clients as guinea pigs. Be like,
right.
hey Gregory, why don't you try this demented pattern I invented like last night on an hour of sleep? It's like
Dude, that's funny as hell. It's like, yeah, here. That's kind of how I am too. It's like here, it's like handing a dude. It's like here's a sex dungeon I tied after drinking 12 beers at 3 in the morning last night, going fishing. And they're like, dude, what the fuck is this? Pardon my French. I've looked in my fly box some mornings, like when I wake up after drinking a couple cold ones. I'm like, dude, what the fuck did I tie last night? I was like, dude, like this is wild. I was like, thank God this is for myself. It's like, good night. This is horrible. Well, what's the coolest guide trip or coolest guide trip story or coolest person that you've ever guided?
That's a tough one. I mean, I've got a lot of legends in their own minds, but I got to, and this isn't like the cliche. Like I get to guide a lot of really great people. It's
Right.
there's not that's part of the best part about being a fly fishing guide, I think, is the interactions with people. It's also the worst part, but we're really blessed. I mean, we have an awesome repeat base. We have we just guided so many cool people. I guided a guy who was an Olympian swimmer, nicest guy in the world. He's coming back. I mean, there's just so many, people that I would never interact with because I'm a fishing guide, and fishing's kind of brought us all together. Um, but I don't. This isn't some like media PC like trained answer, but I struggle to think of like this person was the coolest, or I got a lot of pretty badass men and women, and just some of the times in the boat, just I think about days where it's like we got a really cool streamer eat. We got one to come up and eat a mouse at like 10 in the morning. Just
That's
like
pretty sweet.
just those types of days. Really cool dry fly days, or some of my favorites are like today, for example. Like I had a guy in the boat, he'd never been to the San Juan, and we threw a freaking 8 inch long streamer and drilled fish on it. And like to see that, like your kind of worldview of the wand just shatter right there when a fish comes out and murders it. You know, it's like
Oh yeah,
that's what I live for, man. I just love like just changing people's perception of what this river can be. But no, man, in short, I got a lot of awesome people, man.
that's awesome. Is there like that's pretty cool? I was gonna see if there was one that ever just like straight up stuck out to you, but
There's one.
that's
There's definitely one that sticks out,
yeah.
but not for good reason.
Oh gosh.
They're not with us anymore. I'm
Oh
not gonna
man.
open up that can of worms, but
Oh
that's
boy.
fine.
That is crazy though when you have those days you just look back on and you're like, damn man, that was pretty sweet. So like, I brought my little brother fly fishing for the first time, and he was sitting there. He was on the way up. He was in between jobs, and he was like kind of stressing out on the way up there because he was doing something with the job that he was going to work out. I was like, and I don't think he ever wanted to go. He just got sick of me asking him. He's like, you know what, screw it, man, I'll go with you. So we went up, and he caught fish on a dry fly all day. And the first one he hooked, he was like, dude, that was the greatest thing ever. He's like, I want to do that again. I was like, dude, that's like a 18, 20-inch brook trout, or not brook trout, it was brown trout. I was like, that's like a 18, 20-inch brown trout on a freaking Pat's, on a Pat, not a Pat's rubber legs. What was it? It was an ant pattern, is what it was.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I was like, on an ant pattern. I was like, that might not be replicated for the rest of the day. That probably won't be replicated even by me the rest of the year. And we went and caught 30 fish that day. And he was like, I want to go do that again tomorrow. Went out. He's like, I might have you try and buy me a fly rod. He never followed up on it, but we got to get a day to go again. But it is cool watching somebody just like, that was great. Watching them go from like, all right, I don't really want to be here, and then you hook a fish, and it's like, I, I'm absolutely addicted to this. But the next question, this is kind of a cool answer, or a cool question. What are your five go-to drift boat jams? Some,
Yeah, five. Like I try to my music taste versus my professional life are pretty opposing. But I've been listening to like a lot of Shoreline Mafia right now. I've been listening to a lot of like electronic stuff. I mean, some T Grizzly, First Day Out. Some
oh, I love that
Tupac, Hit
song.
'Em Up. Shoreline Mafia, None Major. What else has kind of been in the rotation? Sore Losers by Russ, and then just some. I don't really listen to a lot of music in the boat. Like
Yeah.
I kind of have like I pump my body like full of caffeine, like in the truck, and get in the zone. Listen, bump some tunes, and then boom, I'm shutting it off. I'm shaking hands, and even when I fish personally, I can't fish with music, so.
Right.
A lot of guys that's really important, but for me, I just like lock in and yeah, I just like the silence. I like the quiet. I like
Yeah.
the
That's
sounds of Gaia, Mother
yeah.
Nature.
Dude, I'm kind of the same way. It's like when I'm driving up the mountain, it's like I live the closest river to me is like an hour and 45 minutes away. I probably shouldn't go as much as I do, but the whole way there, I'll listen to music. I'm like a big Billy Strings guy. Um, Grateful Dead, just stereotypical shit. The leftover salmon,
No
turnpike.
Mongolian throat singing.
No, not not these days. But dude, did you actually want to be a rapper?
No, 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 no.
No, I was gonna
I
say, I was like,
actually,
yeah, he threw T Grizzly out there. I was like, that's pretty sweet.
yeah, I mean, like, and I listen to the classics, MF
Oh yeah,
Doom, Wu Tang, of course. Like,
yeah.
I love MF. I listen to a lot of Doom. There's a new group, Coast Contra. They're awesome. I listen to a lot of hip hop, because I grew up in the suburbs of DC, and everything's super soft. My
Wale,
cousins are all from yeah, Wale, DC.
Wale,
Wale's not
DMV
even from
legend.
DC.
He's not.
Yeah, Wale's not even from DC. No, he's from Prince George's County, dude. He's not even from DC.
Dude,
And
he
I think his
always
parents were like
claims.
doctors.
Yeah. What, dude? He always claims DC, dude. Always.
Yeah, no, but he'll
That's
say DC
wild.
chillin', PG chillin'. Yeah, he's from Prince George. He performed. Did he come? Yeah, I think he came to my school, or Fat Trell from DC, which he's got like one song that was Freaka Melody, but like, yeah, I listen to a lot of. I grew up in the DC area, but no, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be a fishing guide. The second I found out what a fishing guide was, I knew that's what I wanted to be, and it just wasn't going to be a reality, growing up on the East Coast, and then I found myself in the West, and like I remember when I worked at Avid Angler in Seattle, I was just married, and the owner there, Ryan, sat me down. He's like, "Look, dude, like if you're not gonna be able to be a guide, you're here in Seattle. The Yakima's 2.5 hours away. Like, and that it was tough. It hurt for a second, And I realized that was excellent advice because now I own an outfitting business. I would never hire a guide that lives 3 hours away. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
outside of having some ridiculous like niche skill, right? Um, or just being a gangster, like, but you have to have your fingers on the pulse of this river on the one. I talk to my guide buddies every day. We're comparing notes. We're doing this, we're doing that. We fish together. So like we have it pretty dialed. There's not much. I mean, believe me, this river will fold you like a lawn chair, but like there's not much that's going to surprise me. I'm not going to get walk into the propeller. It's like, oh, I talked to Kyle, I talked to Alex, I talked to Norm, I talked to Jay Mysterio, the guy in our website with a ski mask. Like one of us is out there, and that mastermind really helps us just all be better together.
dude, that Jay Mysterio video is so funny. Dude, it's awesome.
He's a character. So he guides. There's another outfitter that he guides for. That guy's a close friend, really good dude, runs a really good outfit, and like I just don't want to create like a conflict of interest. So that's like a respect. And like, dude, just wear a ski mask and I'll like throw you on the website. Like I promise, this guy's not like a felon, But yeah, he's funny. He'll take pictures in it. Like
Dude,
the
that's
clients really
awesome.
enjoy it. He
Dude,
doesn't guide in it.
it's one of those things, dude. I saw it. I was like, I hope he's talking about Rey Mysterio, the WWE, and he's making that. He's just like, dude, I remember my little brother and I used to be obsessed with the WWE games, and we got them taken away because my brother whacked my sister over the head with a crutch
Oh no.
and didn't understand why it didn't break. And that ever since that day, my mom was like, "You guys are never getting another wrestling game ever again." But we still watched it. We are big Rey Mysterio guys. The 619, nothing like it.
Yeah.
John Cena, big Boston
Can't see
guy.
me.
Yeah, dude. But dude, that's about all I got, man. That was pretty awesome, dude. Thank you very much for coming on. Is there anything else you'd want to say, man?
No, Ren, I really appreciate your time. I mean, I don't know, like I said, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer it. But it's just nice to speak in a forum where I'm, a little more, I guess, rough around the edges. You should say I'm not totally. I mean, I'm my true authentic self as much as I can be. But it's fun to tackle these things. Talk stream etiquette, talk the San Juan. Another
Right.
day in the deserts of San Juanistan. So, but yeah, it's a vibe out here. It's fun. People should
Dude,
check
I'm
it. It's
gonna
a
have to
freak
get
show.
out
It's like,
there. I'm gonna have to
yeah.
get out there, dude. Do you know anyone that guides in Sedona, Arizona, by any chance?
So we have some of our we like one of my homies, Chris Bear, has. I don't, but Chris Bear actually might, and he owns or is part owner of Pheasant Tail Fly Shop in Phoenix, Arizona. They're
Okay.
awesome. So I would reach out to Chris and just let him know we About Trout sent you, the About Trout guys sent you, and he's
Perfect.
awesome. He could get you really tapped in with Sedona. I haven't fished like it's Oak Creek, I believe that's around there. I've only fished like I fished for Apache trout in the White Mountains, and then I fished up at Lee's Ferry, which is pretty
Okay.
cool as well.
Yeah, that's what we have a house right there by Oak Creek, and I was doing a little research the other day. After my mom told me that that's where we were going. I was like, Oak Creek. They have gila trout there, don't they?
They might stock them. There might be a trip. I don't know enough about it to speak on it. But yeah, Arizona has the Gilas and the Apaches. New Mexico's two native trout are the Rio Grande cutthroat and the Gila. I've caught New Mexico Gilas in gosh, in Mineral Creek. I don't even feel bad talking about that one. Like you guys bring these fish back from extinction, then you can keep two. That makes no sense. But Mineral Creek is just an absolute just ass kicker of a hike to get in there. Like unless you really want to catch a wild Gila trout, there's other places that you can just drive into it. It's stupid hiking in there, but it's fun. But and you better have a plug kit. You better have an air compressor. The Gila is rugged, but I think they do. But I think Chris at Pheasant Tail could dial you in because I'm pretty ignorant about that stuff.
All right, perfect, man. I'm about to reach out to him here in a little bit, but dude, you surprised me with T Grizzly first day out, man. That I'm throwing that on the playlist, dude.
It
That
gets me
one,
amped every morning.
dude, I'm gonna throw that on there, and then
They
Shoreline
preyed on my
Mafia.
downfall.
Yeah,
Yeah. They preyed on my downfall. On all 10, I stood tall.
oh
Just
yeah.
motivational
Through Michigan
lyrics to live
State,
by.
through Michigan State. What was the other one? Damn, through Michigan State and all the traffic. Dude, that's a banger. I listen to that one in the gym all the time. That and
Oh,
Sabrina
he's got some
Carpenter.
bars.
Oh yeah,
Sabrina Carpenter, some Chappelle Roan. You got to
yeah,
keep it
dude.
diverse, keep it
Dude, see,
fun.
I'm not a huge Chappelle Roan guy yet, but I feel like I'm gonna get there. Pink Pony Club is kind of a banger, but
Pink Pony Club bangs. Yeah, I mean, I like. I'm trying to think of like what else is. I know I've been listening to some Kelly Clarkson. I Forgive You recently.
I like that
It's
one. I like that
Kay
one.
Clarkson's classic.
Dude, you can't forget Colby Calais. Um, shoot,
Ooh,
dude. I
top
have
tier choice.
I have a whole playlist full of it. Dude, it's my running playlist. Uh, Colby Calais, Unwritten. That's another one that pulls up
Natasha
occasionally.
Bedingfield.
Natasha Bedingfield. Um, where is it, dude? I've been listening. I've been big on the new short and sweet deluxe version, the Dolly Parton, please, please, please one,
I'll
banger.
have to check. I'll
Yeah,
have to
dude.
check that out. I mean,
I don't
here
know, man.
on my drive playlist because I'm in the road. I'm on the road a lot, but I mean, there's some Kelly Clarkson right there.
Hell yeah.
What's on this? I have Life Letters by Never Get Used to People. That's a weird song. That's a solid one. I can't even pronounce like half these bands are like Russian. Streetwise, Pretty Sick is the band is pretty sick and the song Streetwise, that's a good one. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not as tapped in with what the kids listen to these days. But None Major is a Shoreline Mafia classic, and then Heat Stick is some of the lyrics are a little. I feel like I need to take a shower afterwards, but it gets me amped.
Hey, I like some music like that. I'm about to put all these on the playlist. Big Fergie guy,
They're
Rihanna.
delicious.
Those are another ones. But that's about all I got, man. Thank you again for coming on. I'll shoot you a message if I end up making a run from Sedona. I'll probably hit you up to see if we can get on the lawn one day. I don't know
Please
how
do,
many
please do.
rods I'm gonna bring. I think I'm bringing actually an
All of
LL
them.
Bean. Yeah, that dude. I got one backpack that has two rod tube holders, and I'm like, I want to bring like a 5 weight, two 4 weights, but I think I'm only gonna bring my LL Bean 4 weight, um and then a 5 weight just to see what we can do. But thank you for coming on, man. I'll shoot you a message, and then I'm probably gonna have all this up tonight, and we'll go from there, man.
Awesome, Ryan. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And yeah, I hope to see you in San Juan.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Later.
Later. That was our episode with James Garrettson of the San Juan River. What a cool dude. Had some awesome information there, and just an all around fun episode. That will be up here in a little bit, and go and check it out. Also, check out our Trout Tunes running playlist. I actually got to go and add James' songs to that one, and some awesome songs there. Dude, T Grizzly, first day out, what a banger. And then he also had the Dropkick Murphys on there. Great addition. Um, but give a hand for James. Just great episode. Thanks for coming on. Now let's get into our Q&A portion of the episode. So True Hits on TikTok asked, "How long have I been fly tying?" I have been fly tying seriously for a little over a year. Um, I've had different vices for years before, and some of them were honestly just super hard to tie on. And I tried, and then I got a nicer vice, and I started tying a little more serious. So that was a big thing, and ever since then I've just kind of just tied what I wanted, and tied for a few of my buddies, and all that from there. Um, so thank you for the question, True Hits. The second question, somebody asked me what was Simpson from TikTok. He asked, "What is the best fly fishing setup for beginners?" Um, that is a great question. Um, I think, in my personal opinion, just an all around rod that you can do everything with is a 4 weight, a 4 or 5, I should say, closer to a 5. So with a 5 weight, you can go and sling like woolly buggers and really any fly that you need to catch bass, panfish, stuff like that. But at the same time, it has enough tip to where you can go up to the mountains, hit your streams, and also catch some trout on it. Now, if it's a longer 5 weight, I wouldn't really recommend going into those super tight um, wild waters, but anything else, delayed harvest stuff, go and catch you some stalkers. A 5 weight's perfect. It can handle those bigger fish. You can get the small ones in, but I would say a 4 or 5 weight. I have 2 4s, a 5, and I believe a 6 weight as well. So I just get the 5 weight because it's a great middle grade rod that you can do everything with. Another question I had today, it was actually in a TikTok live, was from Shooter. He asked me um, if I could fish for a species for the rest of my life, what would it be? Um, that honestly was probably one of the hardest questions I've had to answer because um, all of them are awesome to catch. But I then followed that question up with, are we talking saltwater species and a freshwater species, or are we talking just one for the rest of my life? And he said one for the rest of your life. Um, I'll be honest, I got to give the cake to tarpon, 100% tarpon. If you have caught a tarpon, even the micros on a fly, you will understand what I'm saying. Um, Freaking catching a tarpon on a fly there's nothing like it. Um, it is fucking unbelievable. Pardon my French, but it is just unbelievable. And if you have the opportunity to catch a tarpon on a fly, go and do it. Shooter, the same guy, then um, followed up with what if there was one fly I could throw for the rest of my life? What would it be? Um, I had said something in the live before that wasn't the same one that I'm going to give now, and this one wasn't even on the back of my brain while I was answering it before. But I think the fly that I would throw for the rest of my life would be a Clouser minnow. You can really do it all with a Clouser minnow. It's kind of like like I said, the 5 weight for the 5 weight of flies, and and that that you can catch smallmouth on it. You can catch tarpon on it. You can catch reds on it. You can catch really anything on a Clouser minnow. largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, striper, everything. It's just kind of one of those universal flies that gets chomped. But for like I said, we got Trout Tunes, a Trout Tunes running playlist on our Spotify. I will link this in the show notes, and that's it for the Trout Wrangler podcast this week. Thank you again to James for coming on. Just a great dude. If you're ever out at San Juan River, give him a call. I have all of his information in the show notes, and he'll get you on him. You heard some of the stuff that he was saying. Man, he really knows what he's talking about as well as all the other guides that he has. But give him a call. Again, that is About Trout. And he'll get you on those fish on the San Juan. But until then, next week I will see you back with another guest for the show. And peace out. Thank you guys for watching.